People who endured a lot in childhood don't just carry memories. They also carry a whole set of reflexes and assumptions built during those years that never really turned off. And what most adults don't realize is that the psychological patterns formed back then don't happen to announce themselves. They just show up in how you react to things like a canceled plan, feeling on edge when you try to rest, or why you can't accept a compliment without suspicion. When a child goes through bad things over and over, whether that's being ignored, hurt, living in chaos, or just never having someone safe to go to, something happens in their brain. Scientists call it toxic stress. Regular stress actually helps us grow stronger. But toxic stress is different. It's like an alarm system that never turns off. It floods a kid's body with stress chemicals for too long without anyone there to help calm things down. Researchers at Harvard have shown this actually changes how the brain develops during the most important growing years. This isn't just about feelings. Actual parts of the brain grow differently, especially the parts that deal with emotions and making decisions. But here's what makes this so sad and so misunderstood. The kid doesn't know any of this is happening. They just know the world feels scary and unpredictable. So, they figure out ways to deal with it. And honestly, these ways of coping are pretty smart for a kid with no power and no choices. Maybe they learn to always watch for danger, scanning every room and every face for signs something bad is coming their way. Maybe they become the family peacemaker, the one who can sense when adults are getting upset and tries to make everything okay. Or maybe they learn to just disappear, getting so quiet that nobody really sees them at all. Some kids figure out that keeping other people happy keeps them safer, so they get really good at knowing what everyone else needs while forgetting they have needs too. For a child who can't leave, can't fight back, can't change anything, these tricks work. They make things a little less bad. They help you survive. What often happens is that what saves you as a kid can later cause real problems as an adult. That constant watching for danger turns into anxiety that never stops, where you can't ever relax because part of you still thinks letting your guard down means something terrible will happen. The peacekeeping becomes this need to fix everyone's problems and manage everyone's feelings except your own. The disappearing act becomes being totally disconnected from what you feel or want or who you even are. And I want to be careful here because none of this is about blaming parents or labeling people. It's about understanding patterns that can help make sense of struggles that otherwise feel random or confusing. Then there's shame. The shame might actually be the worst part. When you're little and bad things keep happening, your brain isn't grown enough to understand it's not your fault. Kids think everything is about them. That's just how their brains work at that age. So when bad stuff keeps happening, the kid thinks they must be bad. They must deserve it somehow. If they were just better, smarter, quieter, more lovable, then maybe everything would be okay. This becomes the way you see yourself. Not, I did something bad, which is guilt and actually helps you learn, but I am bad, which is shame, a feeling that attacks who you are deep down. And that's really different because guilt says you made a mistake and you can fix it. But shame says you are the mistake and there's nothing you can do about it. There's been a lot of research on what they call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs for short. The biggest study looked at over 17,000 people and found clear patterns. People who went through more hard things as kids were way more likely to struggle as adults. Not just with mental health, but with physical health, relationships, money problems, all of it. Depression, anxiety, addiction, chronic pain, all much more common in people who had rough childhoods, even 30 or 40 years later. But this doesn't mean your fate is sealed. Sometimes people hear about this research and think your childhood already decided your whole life. And that's not true. What it does is help explain why someone who went through a lot might struggle in certain ways. Your brain can actually create new pathways your whole life, which means you can change. It's just really hard and usually needs professional help. What's tricky is that none of this shows up in dramatic ways most of the time. It shows up on an ordinary Tuesday. It's the way your body tenses when someone texts, "We need to talk," even if it's probably nothing. It's how a small mistake at work feels like proof you're about to lose everything. It's feeling oddly unsafe when things are calm, like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's how rest feels uncomfortable instead of refreshing. How compliments bounce right off, but criticism sticks for days. How you replay conversations in your head, trying to figure out what you did wrong, even when no one else seems bothered. These reactions can look confusing from the outside and even to you, but they make sense when you remember your nervous system learned early that small signs could mean big consequences. The problem is adult life rarely gives you clear danger signals, so your body fills in the gaps. It reacts to tone changes, silence, uncertainty, or mild conflict as if they're threats because once upon a time they were. And realizing that can be strange, even relieving, because it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your system learned something once and hasn't updated yet. Many people who had difficult childhoods spend their adult years recreating what feels normal to them, even when it's painful. They might end up in relationships that feel unpredictable because even though chaos hurts, it's familiar. Your body finds this strange comfort in patterns you know, even bad ones, because at least you know what to expect. Or they go the other way and become super controlling, unable to handle anything spontaneous because unpredictability still feels like danger. Then there's emotional flashbacks. These are really confusing because they're different from regular memories. With a regular memory, you know you're thinking about the past, but emotional flashbacks hit you with feelings from trauma without the memory part. You're suddenly feeling small, powerless, terrified, or ashamed for no reason you can see. There's no clear trigger, just this overwhelming feeling that something is very wrong. And because you don't know it's a flashback, you start looking around your current life for explanations. Sometimes inventing problems that aren't there just to make sense of these huge feelings. Getting better when it happens isn't a straight path, and it's never easy. It takes hard work to spot these old survival habits. Understand where they came from and how they once helped, and then choose to respond differently over and over, even when everything in you screams to do what's familiar. It means learning to believe safety is real, that people can be steady and reliable, that what you need matters, and that you deserve to be cared for. Not because you earned it, but just because you exist. The kid who went through all that didn't fail at anything. They survived with whatever tools they had, showing incredible strength dealing with things no child should ever have to deal with. But that kid deserves to finally rest, to let the adult they became take over the job of staying safe and making decisions. And doing that work, as hard as it is, might be some of the hardest and most worthwhile work you ever do. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would genuinely appreciate your